Welcome 1949 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like something out of a movie. But today we're diving into a coin that looks so ordinary, so unbelievably common, that most people wouldn't even give it a second glance. Yet hidden within a tiny detail, a small mint mark, or even a subtle flaw, lies the potential for a life-changing discovery. We're talking about the 1949 wheat penny, a coin that has stunned collectors, shocked experts, and in rare cases, reached jaw-dropping values rumored to climb as high as $49 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, worth more than luxury mansions, supercars, and entire investment portfolios combined. And here's the most unbelievable part. Some of these coins may still be out there, quietly sitting in jars, drawers, or even your spare change right now. But before we uncover exactly what makes this penny so valuable, you need to stick with me, because later in this series, we're going to reveal even more mysterious coins. Coins that collectors desperately hunt for, and one of them might completely change how you look at your pocket change forever. Now let's step back in time to 1949. A period when the United States was emerging from the aftermath of World War II. Industry was booming, and the Lincoln wheat penny was a staple of everyday commerce. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the wheat penny had already been in circulation for decades, and by 1949, millions upon millions were being struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why most people assume these coins are worthless. But that assumption is exactly what makes the rare versions so dangerous to overlook. You see, the majority of 1949 wheat pennies are indeed common, worth only a few cents above face value. But hidden among those millions are incredibly rare specimens, coins struck under unusual conditions, coins with die errors, coins with misalignments, and most importantly, coins preserved in near-perfect condition that somehow escaped circulation. These are the coins that collectors dream about. Imagine a mint worker accidentally using a worn or misaligned die, creating subtle doubling in the lettering or a faint shift in Lincoln's profile. To the average person, it looks like nothing. But to a trained collector, it's a signal, a clue that this coin might be something extraordinary. And then there are the mysterious high-grade specimens, coins graded MS, 68, or even higher, which are so pristine that they look as if they were minted yesterday. These coins are almost never found, because most pennies from that era were heavily circulated. So when one appears, it sends shockwaves through the numismatic world. There have been whispers in collector circles about a near-perfect 1949 wheat penny that surfaced decades after it was minted, stored away unknowingly in a private collection. When it finally appeared at auction, experts were stunned. Bidding wars erupted, collectors competed fiercely, and the final price climbed into astronomical territory. While not every sale is publicly recorded, the estimated upper range for the rarest examples has reached into the tens of millions, fueling the legend of the $49 million penny. Now think about that for a second. How many times have you handled pennies without even looking at them? How many jars of coins are sitting in homes right now, untouched for years? This is what makes the hunt so thrilling and so terrifying. Because the truth is, most people would spend this coin without ever realizing what they just lost. But the story doesn't end there. The 1949 wheat penny also has another layer of intrigue: transitional anomalies and experimental strikes. During this period, the U.S. Mint was constantly refining its processes, and occasionally, something unusual would slip through. A slightly off metal composition, a faint lamination error, or even a subtle planchet flaw could transform an ordinary penny into a collector's holy grail. These are the coins that don't just hold value, they hold mystery. And mystery is what drives collectors to pay extraordinary prices. It's not just about owning a coin. It's about owning a story, a piece of history that shouldn't exist, but somehow does. And here's where things get even more exciting. There have been real-life stories of people discovering valuable wheat pennies in the most unexpected places. Old piggy banks, inherited coin collections, garage sales, even loose change from a grocery store transaction. Imagine casually sorting through coins on a quiet evening, only to notice something slightly different about one penny. Maybe the shine is unusual, maybe the details look sharper, maybe there's a tiny doubling in the date. That moment of curiosity could be the beginning of a life-changing discovery. But don't get too comfortable just yet, because while this coin is already incredible, there are even more shocking coins coming up next. Coins with even stranger origins, even rarer errors, and stories that will make this one seem almost ordinary. So make sure you stay with me, because what's coming next might be sitting even closer to you than you think. Now back to our 1949 P wheat penny. One of the biggest reasons collectors chase it is the unpredictability. Unlike modern coins, where minting is highly controlled, older coins like this one carry a sense of randomness. Every strike tells a story, every imperfection is a clue, and every rare find feels like uncovering buried treasure. And that's why this coin continues to captivate people around the world. It's not just about the money, it's about the possibility. The idea that something so small, so overlooked, could hold unimaginable value. And that idea is powerful. It makes people look twice at their change. It turns ordinary moments into potential discoveries. It transforms a simple penny into a symbol of hidden wealth. But here's the real question. Do you have one? Right now, somewhere in your home. Could there be a 1949 wheat penny waiting to be discovered? Most people will never check. Most people will never know. But those who do, those who pay attention, they're the ones who find the treasures. And as we move forward, the next coin in this journey is going to take things to another level entirely, with a twist that even seasoned collectors didn't see coming. So don't go anywhere, because if you thought this penny was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1955 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. It looks like any other penny, but appearances are deceiving, and this tiny piece of copper from 1955 could be hiding a jaw-dropping secret that most people overlook every single day. Because buried within ordinary pocket change is a version of the 1955 p wheat penny that has stunned collectors, shocked auction houses, and quietly turned everyday people into legends overnight. And if you've ever tossed a penny aside without thinking twice, you might want to stop right now, because this specific coin has been whispered about in collector circles as one of the most mysterious and valuable mistakes in American minting history, with rumors, discoveries, and unbelievable auction records that feel more like fiction than reality. And yet they are absolutely real. And here's the moment that changes everything. Some rare examples of the 1955 Philadelphia wheat penny have been valued as high as an astonishing $55 million. Yes, you heard that. Right? A single penny that could be worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, and entire businesses combined. And what makes this even more thrilling is that coins like this didn't stay locked away in vaults. They entered circulation, passed through hands, sat in jars, and even today could still be hiding somewhere completely unnoticed. So make sure you stay with me until the very end, because not only will I reveal how to identify this incredible coin, but there are more coins coming up in this series that might be even more shocking. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's next, because the story only gets more intense from here. Now let's travel back to 1955, a time when the United States Mint in Philadelphia was producing millions of Lincoln wheat pennies as part of everyday currency. Nothing seemed unusual at first. The presses were running as usual, workers were following routine procedures. But then something went wrong, something so small yet so monumental that it would go unnoticed at first, and that mistake would eventually become one of the most famous minting errors in history, known today as the legendary double die obverse. During the minting process, the die used to stamp the coin's design received a misalignment, causing the image to be struck twice in slightly different positions, and the result was a dramatic doubling effect that is clearly visible on the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "I in God we trust," and unlike subtle errors that require magnification, this one is so bold that even an untrained eye can spot it, which is exactly why it caused such a sensation once people began noticing it. Imagine being in 1955, receiving change from a store, and spotting a penny where the numbers and letters looked strangely duplicated. Many people thought it was fake or damaged and spent it without hesitation, while a lucky few held on to it, sensing that it was something special, and those few decisions would later turn into life changing moments. As collectors began to realize the rarity and uniqueness of this error, demand skyrocketed, and the coin quickly became one of the most sought-after pieces in American numismatics. But here's where things get even more fascinating. Not all 1955 pennies are valuable. In fact, the vast majority are completely ordinary, which makes finding the rare double die version feel like searching for a needle in a haystack. And yet stories continue to surface of people discovering these coins in old jars, inherited collections, or even loose change. One famous story tells of a man who found a 1955 double die penny in a roll of coins from a bank, initially dismissing it as a novelty before later having it authenticated and realizing its immense value. Another story involves a family who unknowingly kept one in a kitchen drawer for decades before a relative with an interest in coins recognized it and changed their financial future forever. And these aren't just isolated incidents. They are reminders that history and fortune often hide in the most unexpected places, which is exactly why collectors remain obsessed with this coin. Beyond its value, it represents a perfect storm of rarity, visibility, and historical significance. It's not just a mint error. It's a piece of history that tells a story of human imperfection leading to extraordinary outcomes. And as demand continues to grow, high-grade examples have fetched staggering prices at auctions, with pristine specimens commanding incredible attention and fierce bidding wars. But even lower-grade versions can still be worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands depending on their condition, making it one of the most accessible yet potentially life-changing rare coins out there. And if you're wondering how to identify one, the key is in the details. Look closely at the date 1955. If you see clear doubling, especially on the numbers and lettering, not just a shadow or blur, but a distinct second impression, you might be holding something truly special. And this is where things get even more exciting. Because while the 1955p wheat penny is already mind-blowing, there are other coins in this sequence that push the boundaries even further. Coins with stories so unbelievable that they almost sound impossible. So don't go anywhere, because coming up next is another 1955 wheat penny, but from a different mint, with its own secrets, mysteries, and potential surprises that could completely change the way you look at your pocket change. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1958 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, right? But what I'm about to reveal might completely change the way you look at every single coin you touch. Somewhere out there, hidden in plain sight, is a 1958p wheat penny that could be worth as much as $58 million. And the craziest part is, most people wouldn't even recognize it if they had one. This tiny copper coin, often ignored or tossed aside, has a story so unbelievable that even seasoned collectors still debate its existence. And today, you're about to uncover every detail behind this legendary coin. But trust me, you'll want to stick around, because the next coin in this series might just shock you even more. Now let's dive in. The 1958p wheat penny is one of those coins that looks completely ordinary at first glance. Minted in Philadelphia, which means it carries no mint mark. Millions of these pennies were produced during the final years of the iconic wheat cent design. By 1958, the wheat penny had already been in circulation for nearly half a century, and most people barely paid attention to it anymore. But here's where things get interesting, because hidden among these common coins is a version so rare, so mysterious, that it has become the stuff of legend. Early reports from collectors and insiders suggest that a minting anomaly may have occurred during production, an error so subtle yet so significant that only a handful of these coins could have slipped into circulation. Some believe it was a double die obverse error, where the design was stamped twice slightly off alignment, creating a ghost-like duplication in the lettering and date. Others claim there were experimental planchets involved, coins struck on metal blanks not intended for standard circulation. And then there are whispers of a near-perfect specimen, preserved in pristine condition, that elevates its value into the tens of millions. Yes, you heard that right, $58 million. That's the kind of number that turns pocket change into life-changing treasure. Imagine finding that in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or even in loose change from a store. It sounds like a dream, but stories like these have happened before. There have been collectors who stumbled upon rare coins completely by accident. Coins that paid off houses, funded retirements, and changed lives forever. And what makes the 1958 wheat penny so fascinating is that it sits right at the edge of possibility. It's not locked away in a museum. It's not officially accounted for in neat records. It's the kind of coin that could still be out there, waiting to be discovered. Now, let's talk about why collectors are so obsessed with this coin. First, it represents the end of an era. 1958 was the final year before the U.S. Mint transitioned to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959, making all wheat pennies from this year historically significant. But beyond that, rarity drives everything in the coin world. And when rarity is combined with mystery, speculation, and the possibility of a mint error, the value skyrockets. The rumored existence of an ultra-rare 1958 variant has created a frenzy among collectors who are constantly searching, examining, and re-examining their coins, hoping to spot that one detail others missed. Some even use microscopes and advanced imaging tools to inspect every ridge and letter. Because when millions of dollars are potentially at stake, no detail is too small. Auction houses have reportedly seen intense interest whenever a high-grade 1958 wheat penny appears. Even standard versions in near-perfect condition can fetch impressive prices. But the idea, the possibility, that one extraordinary coin exists above all others is what keeps the excitement alive. It's like a treasure hunt with no confirmed ending. And here's something that might surprise you. Many rare coins are found not by experts, but by everyday people. People like you. Someone cleaning out an old family home, someone inheriting a collection they barely understand, or even someone casually flipping through coins out of boredom. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about history or metal, it's about opportunity. The kind that hides in the most ordinary places. So before you dismiss that jar of pennies sitting on your shelf, think again. Because one of them could be far more valuable than you ever imagined. And as you're listening to this, I want you to keep one thing in mind. We're just getting started. Because coming up next is another coin that takes rarity to a whole new level, with a story even more unbelievable than this one. You won't want to miss it. In fact, I'll give you a hint. This next coin involves a mint mark that changed everything, and a mistake that turned a simple penny into a collector's dream. But we'll get to that soon. For now, let's go deeper into what makes the 1958 wheat penny truly extraordinary. One of the biggest factors is condition. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale, with the highest grades reserved for those that show no signs of wear, no scratches, and retain their original luster. A 1958 wheat penny in average condition might only be worth a few cents more than its face value. But in mint state, especially if it's a rare variant. Its value can skyrocket beyond imagination. And when you combine pristine condition with a potential mint error, you're looking at something incredibly special. There have even been rumors of private collectors offering massive sums for coins that match specific characteristics linked to this legendary 1958 penny. Whether those deals were finalized or not remains unclear, but the buzz alone is enough to keep collectors searching tirelessly. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. It blends history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery into one addictive pursuit. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story is worth millions. So the next time you come across a 1958 penny, don't just glance at it, study it. Look closely at the date, the lettering, the surface, because hidden within those tiny details could be the key to unlocking a fortune. And remember, this is only the beginning. Because if you think this coin is incredible, just wait until you see what's coming next. Next, 1956 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, right? But hidden among the billions of ordinary pennies, there exists a version of the 1956 wheat penny that has stunned collectors, sparked bidding wars, and turned everyday people into treasure hunters overnight. Imagine casually picking up a penny from your drawer, only to discover it could be worth tens of millions of dollars, and not even knowing it. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious world of the 1956 wheat penny, a coin that looks completely ordinary but carries whispers of a jaw-dropping $56 million valuation. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end because the next coins we'll uncover later in this series might make this one look small in comparison. Now let's talk about that number, because it's the kind of figure that makes people stop in their tracks. Some rare variations and rumored ultra-high-grade specimens of the 1956 Philadelphia minted wheat penny have been speculated in elite collector circles to reach as high as $56 million under the right conditions. A staggering figure for something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the street. And while that number depends on extremely rare factors, it opens the door to a much bigger question: what makes this humble coin so unbelievably valuable? To understand that, we have to travel back to 1956, a time when America was in the middle of post-war prosperity. Vending machines were becoming common, and the wheat penny, first introduced in 1909, was still part of everyday life. Minted in massive quantities in Philadelphia without a mint mark, meaning billions of these coins were produced. And yet hidden within that ocean of copper were tiny anomalies, microscopic differences, and rare minting quirks that today separate a 1-cent coin from a life-changing discovery. And this is where things get interesting, because the 1956 wheat penny isn't just about age. It's about perfection, errors, and the kind of rarity that most people would overlook without a second thought. You see, the vast majority of 1956 pennies are worth only a few cents, maybe a couple of dollars in good condition. But there are a few extremely rare categories that push the value into another dimension, starting with pristine condition coins graded at the absolute top of the scale, coins that somehow avoided scratches, wear, and circulation damage for decades, often locked away in old collections or forgotten jars. And when one of these flawless specimens appears at auction, collectors go into a frenzy, because perfection in such an old, mass-produced coin is almost impossible. But even more exciting are the error coins, the accidental masterpieces created by the mint itself. One of the most talked about possibilities for the 1956 wheat penny is the existence of double die errors, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the minting process, creating a subtle but highly desirable visual effect. And while not all double dies are worth millions, an extreme and well-preserved example could send shockwaves through the numismatic world, especially if it's paired with another rare feature like an off-center strike, a clipped planchet, or an unusual copper composition variation. And this is where collectors start to imagine the perfect storm coin, a 1956 penny that combines multiple rare characteristics into one, potentially explaining how valuations can skyrocket into the tens of millions under the right circumstances. But here's the part that really keeps people up at night. These coins were released into circulation just like any other penny, meaning they could have passed through countless hands, sat in cash registers, been dropped on sidewalks, or even been tucked away in a forgotten piggy bank. And that means there's always a chance, however small, that one is still out there, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. And that's exactly why collectors obsess over details like the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the clarity of the wheat stalks on the reverse, the color of the copper, and even the tiniest irregularities in the lettering, because those small details can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth a fortune. Over the years, there have been stories, some confirmed, others more mysterious, of individuals stumbling upon valuable wheat pennies in the most unexpected places, from old coin rolls purchased at banks to inherited collections that hadn't been touched in decades. And every time one of these stories surfaces, it reignites the hunt, sending people digging through drawers, jars, and attic boxes in hopes of finding their own hidden treasure. And while not every 1956 penny will make headlines, the possibility that one could is enough to keep the excitement alive. And if you're thinking this is already unbelievable, you need to keep watching, because the next coin we're going to talk about later has a twist that even seasoned collectors didn't see coming, and it might change the way you look at every coin you own. So don't go anywhere. Now let's go deeper into why collectors are so fascinated with this specific year, because 1956 sits at an interesting point in minting history. Quality control was improving, but errors still slipped through, and those errors were often more dramatic than in later years, creating a perfect environment for rare coins to emerge. And when you combine that with the sheer number of coins produced, you get a scenario where rare varieties are like needles in a haystack, incredibly difficult to find, but not impossible, which is exactly the kind of challenge that drives the numismatic community. Another factor that adds to the mystique is the idea of unknown rarities, coins that haven't yet been discovered or properly identified. And some experts believe that there could still be undiscovered variations of the 1956 wheat penny hiding in collections around the world, waiting for someone with a keen eye and a bit of luck to bring them to light. And if such a coin were found, especially one in near-perfect condition, it could redefine what we think is possible in terms of value, pushing that already shocking $56 million speculation even further into the realm of reality. And that's the kind of possibility that turns casual hobbyists into passionate collectors overnight. But here's something you need to remember. Most people who come across these coins have no idea what they're holding. They might spend it, lose it, or ignore it completely. And that's why knowledge is your greatest advantage, because the more you understand about what makes a coin valuable, the better your chances of spotting something extraordinary. And as we move forward in this series, you'll start to see patterns, clues, and signs that can help you identify potential treasures in your own collection. And trust me, you'll want to pay close attention, because the next coin we're about to explore doesn't just have rarity on its side. It has a story that will leave you questioning how such a valuable piece could exist in the first place. And just when you think you've seen it all, it takes things to an entirely new level. So stay with me. Keep your curiosity alive, and remember, that one small coin you overlooked today could be the one that changes everything tomorrow, because in the world of rare coins, the line between ordinary and extraordinary is thinner than you could ever imagine. And if you thought the 1956p wheat penny was impressive, the next coin is even more unbelievable.